Avtar Meher Baba ki Jai. So, Mamaji, why don't you
Jay,
read the seven realities?
Yes, Avatar Meher Baba Ki Jai. The seven realities: existence, love, sacrifice, renunciation, knowledge, control, and surrender. I give no importance to creed, dogma, caste, or the performance of religious ceremonies and rites, but to the understanding of the following. The only real existence is that of the one and only God, who is the self in every finite self. The only real love is the love for this infinity God, which arouses an intense longing to see, know, and become one with its truth, God. The only real sacrifice is that in which, in pursuance of this love, all things, body, mind, position, welfare, and even life itself are sacrificed. The only real renunciation is that which abandons, even in the midst of worldly duties, all selfish thoughts and desires. The only real knowledge is the knowledge that God is the inner dweller in good people and in so called bad, in saint and in so called sinner. This knowledge requires you to help all equally as circumstances demand, without expectation of reward. And when compelled to take part in a dispute, to act without the slightest trace of enmity or hatred, to try to make others happy with brotherly or sisterly feeling for each one, and to harm no one in thought, word, or deed, not even those who harm you. The only real control is the discipline of senses to abstain from indulgence in low desires, which alone ensures absolute purity of character. The only real surrender is that in which poise is undisturbed by any adverse circumstance, and the individual, amidst every kind of hardship, is resigned with perfect calm to the will of God. Avtar Meher Baba Ki Jai.
Avtar Meher Baba ki Jai. So, let's pick up from where we left off 2 weeks back. And in, we finished with the chapter um, on imposters, which was basically saints or deluded people on the path. And from that one, we move on to the next one, which is what a punishment. Yeah. So let's start reading from that point on. Avtar Meher Baba ki Jai. What a punishment. God is infinite and his infinity is indivisible. In the infinity of God, everything and everyone is God and nothing but God. But everyone does not experience the infinity that makes one God, though in actuality, the infinity exists within each one. I'll read the whole thing again. It's very profound. God is infinite and his infinity is indivisible. In the infinity of God, everything and everyone is God and nothing but God. But everyone does not experience the infinity that makes one God, though in actuality, the infinity exists within each one. To experience infinity, one must have unlimited consciousness, and until consciousness becomes unlimited, one does not experience oneself as God, though in fact he is God. Everyone is limited in consciousness by the sanskaric bindings of illusion, and until the bindings of illusory experience are wiped out, one cannot experience the reality of Godhood. In the cosmic,
Jay Baba, uh, this whole paragraph summarizes the whole journey. I mean, it also says that there is this. So, until consciousness becomes unlimited, one does not experience oneself as God, and the annihilation of sanskaric um, load. So, it's a beautiful paragraph, is what I feel uh, in seeing. I mean, reading, hearing this. It's very profound, and maybe the summary of the entire uh, cosmology of spiritual awakening is what I feel. Open to
Yes, yes. Very nice paragraph.
perhaps you can highlight the entire paragraph. If it's, I mean, it's my academic mind working, but this is really profound. And can we read it again, please?
yes, but I will ask, uh, as I'm reading again, I will ask one question that you keep in mind. What is the one new idea that is presented here? Okay,
Good point.
there is one new
Good
idea.
point.
Okay,
I'm
yeah, let me
thinking
read again.
same thing, Karthik. I'm
Let
thinking
me read
same thing.
again. Let me read again.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
Mhm.
Karthik, you are like the principal in the school here, not the in the college. You know, not just the tech
No, no, no,
supervisor,
no.
but
I just,
it's great. It's very nice question. Very nice. Thank you.
yeah, yeah. Please join me as we enjoy this. Yeah. God is infinite and his infinity is indivisible. In the infinity of God, everything and everyone is God and nothing but God. But everyone does not experience the infinity that makes one God, though in actuality, the infinity exists within each one. To experience infinity, one must have unlimited consciousness. And until consciousness becomes unlimited, one does not experience oneself as God, though, in fact, he is God. Everyone is limited in consciousness by the sanskaric bindings of illusion, and until the bindings of illusory experience are wiped out, one cannot experience the reality of Godhood. Okay, now I pause. Let's bring it on.
What is the question you said you have?
I'll repeat my question. What is the new idea that's presented here, or the first time I am encountering this? Okay.
Karthik, there
Yeah.
is no new idea, but the
Mhm.
same thing presented in a different way. That's what
In a very simple and
that
powerful
was.
way, I
That
agree.
was attract us. We have the similar lines, and when they are sung much well, they are different than not sung so well. So it's like that. What appeals
Uh,
to heart?
the
Yeah, that's
concept
what.
of infinity
Mhm.
is so well used here, and then
Correct.
everything is put inside that. So, what vision I get is that circle uh, chart we have seen
Yeah,
earlier.
exactly. Exactly.
So, every part is included there. So, the everything contains nothing also.
Mhm.
That concept, and then how we break the barriers in within that, and then become total. That
Correct.
comes to my vision, Sai Baba.
Jay
Jai
Baba,
Baba.
the first line, it says that and nothing but God. So there is nothing is finite. So when you even talk about infinity in the mathematical term, uh, and especially now in spiritual realm, nothing is finite. Is I mean, we may have encountered that, but the first line really pierced my heart. I mean, that's what I feel. I mean, I don't know about what is new in this, but
Yeah,
is
yeah, I
perhaps
agree. See, what Sanjay ji also said is correct, right? So there's nothing. There's a new phraseology that I like actually. Unlimited consciousness. So it's a word that we have struggled with before, right? Consciousness. What is the definition of consciousness? Keep that aside for a minute. But he's bringing an equation between two ideas. The Sanskaric bindings limit your consciousness. And he uses the word unlimited consciousness. Baba doesn't
That
use
is the,
unlimited. I don't think I've seen unlimited consciousness, right? I mean,
yeah,
used by Baba, right? So that's a new idea. That's a way, I mean,
yeah,
as Sanjay ji said, it's not radically new. It's just packaged and presented very beautifully and
Yeah.
in brevity here.
Uh,
yeah.
can I? Can I?
Let me
Yeah,
pose that
Ravi and then Ashok.
new
Yeah.
thing. Okay? So if I read this slowly, there are some
Mhm.
information which we already know, but the information that we are little doubtful, well, maybe you're all clear. I am little doubtful. Is this God is infinite? We know that, and His infinity is indivisible. We know that. In the infinity of God, everything and everyone is God, and nothing but God. That we know, right? We all know this. There's no argument or question about this. We read this number of times in God Speaks and other books.
Mhm. Sorry, I'll bring it back.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
But everyone does not experience the infinity that makes one God, though in actuality, the infinity exists within each one. That also we know. We are under the influence of Maya. We are limited self. I think I am Ravi. So I'm not infinite. That we know, right? To
Correct.
experience infinity, one must have unlimited consciousness. That is the thing. We are limited consciousness. I am limited consciousness. And until consciousness becomes unlimited, see, that's the new thing here.
Yeah. Yeah.
The limited consciousness. See, what is my consciousness? I am Ravi, I am Ravi, I am this body, I am this mind. That is because the sanskaras make me limited. My consciousness is focused
Is limited by
on
samskaras. Yeah.
sanskaras, right?
Correct.
Now,
That's the new.
that what he says here is that limited consciousness has to become unlimited consciousness, right?
Absolutely.
That limited consciousness has to become unlimited. To experience infinity, one must have unlimited consciousness, and until consciousness becomes unlimited, one does not experience oneself as God. Okay, there are two things here, two steps here. One is total annihilation of sanskaras. When all the sanskaras are gone, what is left in, well, take for example me, okay? What is left in Ravi is purity, my pure self. And that self is, am I in Ishvara state, or Ishvara state means in this conscious world, in this creation world, or am I in the seventh plane in Nirvana state? That is my question. You see what I mean? In Nirvana, when all the sanskaras are, what is the meaning of Nirvana? Just to recapitulate to everyone, what is explained in God Speaks is when all the sanskaras are removed, annihilated, manonash happens. What is left is our unconscious part of the God. And now the stage is ready for this unconsciousness to become one with the consciousness. And then what I experience is a divine vacuum state, whatever is that period of time. Later on, I'll get Nirvikalpa Samadhi, that is I am God state. But is he talking about the Nirvana state here? That's my question. Jai Baba.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not sure if he's talking about nirvana state here, but everything else that you said, I agree. And in a general sense, it's not new at all, right? So, what what stops us from experiencing godhood is the play of sanskaras, and he's linking the play of sanskaras to the one that acts as the dirt on the mirror of consciousness that limits it, right?
Look at
So
this
as
sentence. To
yeah,
experience, Karthik, to
yeah, please,
experience infinity, one must have unlimited consciousness, and until consciousness, that means our consciousness,
correct,
becomes unlimited. See here, very clear.
correct,
Conscious means we are conscious. We are conscious of unconsciousness of God. I'm not God. We are conscious of this unconsciousness. My consciousness will unite only in the nirvana state. Then only my consciousness become unlimited consciousness.
correct,
There's no more, because lack of sanskaras make me not limited. Only samskaras make me feel, hey, you are individual, you are limited. I am not God. Separation is
correct,
there.
correct,
When
correct.
the sanskaras are gone, my consciousness become unconscious, infinite consciousness, unlimited consciousness. Consciousness is thinking. I am thinking. Thinking comes from the sanskaras. I means I consciousness. That is consciousness, nothing else.
Agreed. Any other comments? I think Ashok
Yeah,
you wanted to say something.
yeah. Ravi, you're through or anything else? So it's like this that I'll put in a different school of thought, but it maybe not be in the li- literal meaning of what is said here. So unlimited consciousness, I equate to the uncaused cause. So what I mean here is that even if there is a sixth mass extinction and everything or 75% of this world is annihilated, but what still remains is the uncaused cause, the highest of the high, and that is God. This is what I interpret from this. Uh, whilst you may agree or disagree, but this is what comes out when I was thinking about what is said here. It is not mentioned specifically
Hey,
here in this, but uh,
Ashokji, what you're saying is correct, but I think we have to see it from the aspirant perspective, like us.
Correct.
If
Yes.
you read
So I
from
think
that
here
perspective,
i-
the message is very
it's
clear
very clear,
that
very
this
clear.
is what is the reality, and you have impressions which need to be wiped off. But finally, the questions remain: how do we annihilate our impressions? Which is the toughest part. Yeah.
yeah,
Jai
yeah,
Baba.
that I agree with you, Sanjay. That is the toughest part, and for that you require definitely the grace of God, because uh, in the discourses they have said that your sanskaric load has to be equated and become zero both in quantity and quality, which is a very, 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 very tough thing. So that I go, I absolutely agree with what you said. But uh, something new which comes out of this is that unlimited consciousness is equal to the uncaused cause. And what is left
So
after?
so I think I agree with
It is.
Sanjay ji.
We will need the grace of God, but
Yeah.
what are we doing about it is the question. Yeah, that I mean, ultimately, it is up to our effort that the grace would descend. It is not going to descend automatically.
Yeah.
That's what
Yeah,
Yes.
I
Keep
would like
loving, keep loving,
Jai Baba.
keep loving, and reduce the self, I consciousness.
yeah, yeah.
I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Reduce it, and you will automatically love him more.
No, no,
Where is
no.
your thinking? That's the
Me,
So
what I
question.
am,
Are you thinking
that's the
about Baba,
question.
or are you
So
thinking about the creation world?
okay.
what I have said
As
is,
I'm hearing all this, and yeah, go ahead and finish your thought process, Ashok ji.
yeah, yeah. Sorry to interrupt.
Sure,
What
sure.
I'm saying is that uh, it's a new paradigm of thought which I had. It may not be what is absolutely written literally in this. So,
Fair
I
enough.
mean, Jai Baba, I'm
Yeah,
over.
yeah, we appreciate that, and that's all. That's what this is about, right? Something, so a way you will look at it may be unique and different from what we get out of it, and we respect all of those views, right? It's just that each one's views may help another to discover the true meaning and get on with it, right?
Really,
But I just
exactly.
thought of, yeah, I just wanted
I'm
to,
grateful.
I mean,
Great. I'm sorry, I interrupted. I'm grateful. I've learned a lot in over the years in this. God Speaks was a very tough text
so have
book.
all of us. Yeah, so have all of us. So I'll just quickly, I mean, it's a simple idea, and I know it was so profound that all of us were attracted and we spent some time on it. But I just was, as we were discussing this threadbare, I was just zooming out and thinking one thing, and I think I want to mention it. Baba and Bhau and all the literature in the spiritual realm always is hyper contextual, right? So it's all driven by context. So when you say here, the statement unlimited consciousness, then you become union with God. So there, at that level of context and at that level of specificity, I don't think we should worry too much about whether that is nirvana, whether that's seventh plane, whether that's nirvana, whether that's no. So in a general sense, your sanskaras are zero. You have reached the pinnacle. Let's say pinnacle. I'm not using any of those specific terms. You have reached the goal, right? So that's the level of specificity that exists in this paragraph. Then it becomes easier for us to relate. I was just thinking that in my mind as we were discussing this, and I wanted to share it. But again, everyone has a way of trying to link it back to what we have learned, and I respect that, like I said. Okay, so let's continue. Good start to the morning's conversation already. We've got everybody's uh, juices flowing, and people are jumping in and talking. So that's good. Let's continue.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
If I may say so, everyone has woken up to this paragraph.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Let's continue. In the cosmic bubble of illusion, we are bottled up. Each one keeps God bottled up inside him in the bottle of his own limited being. Our bottles are made of sanskaric bindings, and through our bottles, we perceive illusion instead of God. I repeat, our bottles are made of sanskaric bindings, and through our bottles, we perceive illusion instead of God. God, as infinite consciousness, suffers because he is infinite and we do not realize the infinity bottled up within us. What a punishment this is for God, the one who never punishes, but who endures all this silently. God is infinite knowledge, infinite power, and infinite bliss. And his triune nature manifests as all love, all mercy, and all forgiveness. Out of mercy, he gets himself bottled up in human form for the purpose of imparting to man his divine knowledge and thus to free himself from that confinement which is our limitation. God takes human form to work. As he works universally, he uses his infinite knowledge, but he does not employ his infinite power nor his infinite bliss, because he uses neither his infinite power nor his infinite bliss while he works. He suffers continually. The avatar takes upon himself the burden of the universe, and while he is on earth, he must shoulder this burden during the entire period of his work. The avatar works for the universe using only his infinite knowledge. This infinite knowledge is contained in the universal mind. So, it is through the universal mind that the avatar does his work. In the universal mind of the avatar, all the limited minds are active. Since every individual mind is false, the minds of everyone are the universal burden the avatar bears. Every limited individual mind is full of desires and wants. The sanskaric force of desire attracts the mind to an object. Once that object is perceived, the individual mind wants it. Each mind and the objects desired and wanted exist in non existence. But every mind asserts its own existence and the existence of objects as well. Because of this assertion, the avatar suffers, since every mind within his universal mind is pulling at him through its desires. Okay, I'll pause here. So there's a interesting idea of Baba's suffering, the avatar's suffering, and the idea is presented with the fact that though God in human form has the access to the triune nature, he uses only infinite knowledge and does not use power and bliss. And with the use of infinite knowledge alone, and in the absence of the other two, he's forced to bear suffering. Right now, uh, he goes on to say the suffering is induced by the wrong identification of the individual minds, which are nothing but a subset of the universal mind at which he operates. So each individual mind's wrong assertion, wrong assertion, wrong identification of values ensures that the avatar is suffering because it's like a counter force in the universal mind. Is that a good way of understanding this? Any comments? Okay. If there
This
are
is
no
the first
comments,
time we encounter a possible reason for the suffering of Avatar.
correct. Especially I think we have encountered the fact that he does not use the full triune nature, but that resulting in suffering and also the individual minds operating at the universal mind level, which causes the suffering. Yeah, these two are new ideas, no doubt. Let's continue. Each individual mind loves, desires, and holds to its wants. It is because every individual mind loves its desires and wants, which are false, that each mind places an increasing burden on the avatar's universal mind. Since the avatar has taken upon himself the responsibility of making individuals free from all bindings, he must bear their burden. He must bear the burden of their sanskaric. No, he must bear the burden their sanskaric minds produce. Sorry, so it is correct. I'll read the last line again. Since the avatar has taken upon himself the responsibility of making individuals free from all bindings, he, the avatar, must bear the burden their sanskaric minds produce. So the individual mind's uh, sanskaric burden is borne by the avatar. I continue. It is not easy for him to make an individual free from all desires and wants because each mind is so bound with innumerable desires and wants. People do not really want to get rid of these desires and wants. While the avatar is working, there comes resistance from all corners of the world. And this intensifies his suffering while he is living on earth. The avatar comes when human consciousness is overflowing with desires and wants, and the world is filled with innumerable things desired and wanted by people everywhere. He works to rid human consciousness of three-fourths of its excessive desires and also to wipe out three-fourths of the unnecessary illusory things that people want. When the world resists his work, mankind is actually resisting his love, mercy, and forgiveness, which would free each one from excessive desires and wants. So the next idea is presented here. So everyone, I mean, the avatar comes only when the wick of righteousness is fading, right? So that is equated to the peaking of individual desires of creation, largely human consciousness, human beings and jivatmas. When they go over the line, that's when he comes down, and he comes, and this is interesting, to rid three-fourths of desires and three-fourths of wants of people. Okay, so this is a new idea. And when the world resists his work, we are actually also contributing to his suffering, and we are resisting actually his love, mercy, and compassion and forgiveness, which actually will help us to get rid of our sanskaras. But in our wrong association of values, false values, we ignore his love, mercy, and forgiveness.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's
let's
that's
go.
the suffering. That's the suffering of the avatar, and
Hmm.
which, if we see from simple our parlance of human mind, is that like a son or a daughter does something wrong, how does it pain to the father or mother? So he is our universal father and mother, and he gets pained when we associate ourselves with the wrong values, for which he himself has incarnated on earth to release us from. How painful it must be. I was also listening to Pratap Kaka once, and then he also emphasized this point: how much
Very interesting.
Baba would be pained by when we do things which he doesn't want us to do. Yeah,
Very,
and
very
this.
beautiful analogy, because as parents, we can relate to exactly what you said, right?
Yes, yes,
And just put that in the context of our parents. And I
yes,
think
yes.
we have also done it in, I'm sure, as we aged as young adults and as we age more and more, we often realize how our parents would have felt when we made some false identification of values. I'm just talking biological parents, okay? And
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
how we probably failed them, right? Because we
Correct,
realize later.
correct,
That's
correct.
the beauty of nature. So
So,
just in that, you expand the scope to say universal father, and brilliant analogy. Very nice.
yes,
Very
yes.
beautiful. Thanks
He's,
for sharing.
he's, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
He's,
That's
we become. There is an analogy that I was slightly garbage, but analogy that I was reading in one article in Glow, that we, our minds are like, we are like pigs that we want to eat the slush of the world. So, and we keep enjoying it. However, beautiful food is offered to us, we keep,
going back to that slush.
going back to the slush of the world. Yeah. Yeah. Baba.
Yeah. Correct. Variations of that are there in all messages, in multiple messages. Yes, we, again, false values, right? And that false values is based on sanskaras. But
Yes,
I love the
nicely
father
discussed.
analogy.
But can we have any idea on why the author is pointing out that three-fourths of the unnecessary, illusory things? What is the
New
meaning
idea.
or
I think that is for
purport
sustenance of the
about?
creation. If everybody gets got realized at the end of the game. Jai Baba.
No, but here he's saying three-fourth of only the
Uh,
desires and wants, right? So he's
yeah.
going to wipe out
Yeah, that's
three-fourths
what.
of the
That's
yeah. So
that's what keeps the creation on, on and on. The reason for reincarnation is that, right?
correct.
Yeah.
The other way of looking at it is it's also a cyclical reset, which starts things afresh with the quarter, the one fourth that remains, and like uh, Sanjay ji said, that sustains the creation for the next round, right? So it's basically cyclical. Yes, that's one way of understanding it. But this is the first time we are encountering where we are saying three-fourths of desires, right? So if the sum total of all the desires of all the jivatmas in the world is 100, 75 of that is just going to go away, right? With the work of the avatar. So that's an interesting idea.
Yes.
Jai Baba,
See, three-fourths
Karthik
of the
will all.
unnecessary desires.
Unnecessary, exactly.
Hmm.
Yeah. Shobji?
Yeah. Um, so basically, it's good that you linked it with the mass extinction because if you go into the
No, no, it's
environment,
not extinction. So here it's desires. So
no, no,
again, I'd like to
extinction of
underline, yeah, it's Baba
extinction
has
of
also
desires.
mentioned in his language extinction of three-fourths of the world, right? So here it's not three-fourths of the world, it's three-fourths of the unnecessary illusory things, just underlining.
Yeah, no, so basically, the desires also are part of the world, isn't it? I mean, you
Yes.
can't say that the world is just
Individuals,
physical and we have no
individuals, not world.
just. So what
Yeah.
I'm saying is that uh, when you say desires may be a subset of the physical world, but how I correlate is that it's also that when if the three-fourths of the world is annihilated, that means it becomes extinct, and that is what the theory of the environment also is predicting. When we have so many theories, but this is coming true. The basic global warming. I'm linking it to a thing which I am following up on the environment, but it might be a little tangent from what is written. But this was written long time back, and we are facing some ground realities now. So, I mean, see, so what I'm trying to do is correlate. If I am going off the path, please, uh, I am open to thoughts, but I think that it's all interlinked. This is what I feel.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, in one way or the other.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's continue. No one has any idea how infinitely Avatar Meher Baba has had to suffer for the sake of his universal work. No one knows how much resistance he had to bear from the world while he was working on earth. Meher Baba was working for the benefit of the whole universe. He did his work unseen and unknown by most of mankind, and resistance from each one in the world was what he had to bear. Despite this, Meher Baba completed his universal work, and mankind is beginning to experience its results. Those who are coming to him today, and those who will come, and the world which will eventually accept him, have no idea how much resistance he had to bear from each one of them. If one claims, I am not resisting Avatar Meher Baba's work, he is mistaken. If one indulged and if one continues to indulge in desires and wants, he is resisting Meher Baba's work. Our resistance causes Meher Baba to suffer even now. So link it back to the individual minds making up the universal mind, and each time an individual mind, Ravi ji, Sanjay ji, Datu ji, Ashok ji, Karthik, is thinking of a desire. That individual mind's thinking of the desire is actually causing the universal mind and hence the avatar to suffer. So in every statement, in everything which is not, let's say loosely, I'm using the word spiritual, non sanskaric, another way of putting it, we are actually causing Meher Baba to suffer. Right? Let's go on. There's a analogy. I continue. When one gets bitten by a scorpion, the whole body is affected by pain though the bite is only at one point. Similarly, the avatar's universal body is affected by all the misery and happiness of each individual. When a doctor tries to relieve the pain of the scorpion's bite, if the person's tongue resists treatment by struggling with the doctor himself suffers, even though he is medically treating the one affected by the scorpion's poison. In this way, the avatar suffers because of struggle and resistance to his work. Unseen and unknown, he suffers mercifully for the world and it is forgiven in silence. We,
Shiva, Karthik, sorry to interrupt. Here the poison would be can be equated to ego. Do you all agree, or anybody disagrees? So the poison here in our path is can be treated as equal as ego. So then ego comprises.
poison in the absence of ego, yeah, you're
Meenakshi,
just sub.
totally true. Ego is a big part of it, but the other things also attached with as the outcome of ego. So the attachment, the craving, all that are partly induced or majorly induced by ego, but it is not only ego.
Yeah.
How
Oh,
I
okay.
see
It
it.
might be a subset. Ego might be a subset. So
Yes.
do we all agree on that? If you agree, then I'll proceed with my second. So ego is equal to LAG, which I um, coined for myself to remember, and that's basically lust, anger, and greed, which brings us down. Lag like a you know ship's anchor. So it brings down, it takes us down from the spiritual path. Is the way of my understanding. But does everybody agree to what I said?
Ashokji, I think the better way to encompass what all is said is a separative ego self. That once that is there, that everything else is there. Lust, greed, anger,
Yes,
ego,
yes,
hate, and whatever these words,
Yeah,
karma may have
jealousy.
an
Yeah, you
acronym
can
for
come
that.
with me.
So all that is because of we think that we are different from others. Even you leave about God part, but in the society that we live in, we want ours. We are separate from others. We are different. His pain is his pain. Mine is mine pain. And we, as Baba said, that if we suffer in the suffering of others, that's the message which Baba wants us to, follow, which reduces or tunes down that separative ego self, because we feel happy in others' happiness, feel sad in others' happiness. So that barrier of one over the other is thinning down. You know, as we keep loving Baba and find Him in everyone. So that separative ego, once that thins down, everything else is taken care, I suppose. Actually, Jai Baba.
And in this paragraph, also the analogy, or I mean, of the scorpion biting and poison is basically Baba is trying to, as a doctor, as a universal doctor, to relieve all this pain, but he gets, I mean, he gets, he suffers because if you do not allow him to do his work, I mean, in the sense that he's trying to help us, but we don't take uh, the path he is referring to us. We are so
Yeah.
enthralled in Maya of the world. And Baba is trying to bring us out of that smug or mud or whatever we call of ego. Is the way I look at it. But,
Yes,
Jai Baba.
sure. Let's continue. We who have come to Meher Baba should therefore not resist his work, but try to become free through sacrificing our desires and wants for the sake of his love. We who have felt his forgiveness, let us not see him suffer because of us. Let us see his love manifesting in our lives. And I think that should end this part. Yeah. Okay. So that closes this one.
You can
I
just go back to the title of this.
yeah, exactly what I wanted to do. What a
Yes,
punishment. So
yes.
it basically is the punishment that the avatar goes through with the pigs that
We
we are
inflict on
with
the
their
avatar.
wrong. What is that?
We inflict on the
Avatar.
avatar.
Yes, the pigs
Okay.
inflict on the avatar, to use Sanjay ji's gross analogy. Yeah. Okay. So let's continue. Next, next section, next chapter. Love cannot bear the weight of the intellect. The knowledge of God is not intellectual, it is the knowledge of experience. The knowledge of God is not intellectual, it is the knowledge of experience. Beautiful line. Very, very beautiful line, right? Just think about it. It's a beautiful way of understanding. The knowledge of God is not intellectual, it is the knowledge of experience. God's knowledge is all knowledge, and his experience is his knowing of everything. This knowledge encompasses all time, all space, all things, and all beings. Hence, it knows the history of each one from the beginning of creation to the end. This knowledge is without a break. It is eternally constant throughout the whole course of history. God is this infinite knowledge. Knowledge is his very nature, and nothing is hidden from him. Nothing is unknown to this knowledge. The history of the whole universe and each being in creation is an open book to him. And this knowledge does not have to think to know, for it knows everything all the time. I repeat the last line. The history of the whole universe and each being in creation is an open book to him. And this knowledge does not have to think to know, for it knows everything all the time. So the idea of infinite knowledge is explained here. So let's continue. When the avatar is on earth, he uses his infinite knowledge for his universal work, and neither his work nor his knowledge is limited by anything. He has taken upon himself the responsibility for the whole of creation, and he fulfills this responsibility through the use of his infinite knowledge. The fulfillment of this responsibility is experienced by humanity as a push in consciousness, for consciousness is the very medium to experience knowledge. And when consciousness becomes infinite, it experiences infinite knowledge. Increasing knowledge is the path of truth, and humanity experiences increasing knowledge through a great push in consciousness toward God given by the avatar. The avatar's consciousness remains eternally unlimited. Since the avatar has no binding sanskaras, how can he, who is infinite, retain a limited physical body? His physical body is retained through the sanskaras of his universal work, the Yoga sanskaras. Infinite knowledge uses universal mind through the physical body of the avatar. The Yoga sanskaras, which he takes upon himself, are for the purpose of his universal work. These sanskaras are divine. They are the seeds of history. They are the very forces that change the destiny of humanity. For these Yoga sanskaras are born out of infinite knowledge. These divine sanskaras are released through the avatar's universal mind, which knows the entire history of the past and future. They make others free from the bindings of their limiting sanskaras. The universal mind, these Yoga sanskaras, sorry, in universal mind, these yoga sanskaras are like living flames of the original fire stage. These yoga sanskaras are divine because they liberate consciousness when they are utilized by the avatar to give a universal push in every level of evolution and involution. The avatar's yoga sanskaras are flames born out of divine love. They come from the seat of God on the seventh plane, like infinite rays from the sun of love. These rays emanate out of the avatar's universal mind to dispel the darkness created by the binding sanskaras of each individual in history. When a particular individual becomes submissive to the avatar's wish and will, the release of yoga sanskaras by universal mind becomes easy for the avatar in his universal work. The avatar's universal mind can then use his yoga sanskaras freely for those whose minds have become submissive to him. Only when the mind is submissive is it possible for limited mind to be annihilated and consciousness freed from all binding. What is it that prevents the individual ego mind from being submissive? It is the intellect. Intellect in the individual human mind becomes an obstruction, and love cannot bear the weight of this intellect, which weighs like a rock in the mind of a gross conscious human being. Knowledge of God is consciousness that is infinite in awareness and experience. Intellect is a perceptual and conceptual faculty in man which objectifies all things but does not have subjective experience of things. God, the infinite, is beyond intellect, for his being is consciousness that has infinite experience. If a man tries to seek God through the medium of the intellect, he cannot seek him very far. God can only be sought through conscious experience, and involution is the process for this experience. The inner, subtle, and mental planes are the medium for the development of conscious experience of God. God is found during involution through the medium of the inner planes. But for a gross conscious person, God is felt through the medium of pure love. This pure love manifests when the faculty of the intellect is submissive to the wish and will of the avatar. To experience God is the wish of the avatar. And for this to be achieved, consciousness must free itself from the weight of the intellect. In man's seeking of God, the intellect turns out to become an enemy of man, for it obstructs the experience of flow of unlimited love. Intellect must
In
be
this
submissive.
paragraph, I think in
Yeah,
this
yeah, sure.
paragraph, there are two aspects. One is the journey in the path, subtle to mental and the progress beyond.
Involution and yeah.
Uh, that is slightly different from what we as the gross being, what we can do to reach the avatar or God is by love. So these two distinctions are made out here. Am I clear about this? God is found during involution through the medium of inner planes, but for the gross conscious person, God is felt through the medium of pure love. This sentence seems to be some sort of a cornerstone here.
Yeah, I think you're saying something that's very correct, very profound. That's kind of summary of what
Yeah.
this is. But the broader point that's being made is, strangely enough, whereas we think knowledge is the way to unlock anything in the world, and that's the way the ego mind operates. Bhau is taking pains to explain how the intellect, keep knowledge aside for a minute, the faculty of the intellect is actually, uh, um, um, what should you say, it comes in the way of the true experience of God, because it's a countervailing force to the force of love and acceptance of the true nature of the reality of God. So that's the idea that's powerfully presented, very beautifully presented, in fact.
Yeah.
The,
Karthik, one line is worth underlining or at least reiterating. That is the third line. God, the infinite, is beyond intellect. For his being is consciousness that has infinite experience. So basically, you have to understand that understanding God is beyond our human intellect, or it's much larger than what we even perceive.
yeah, and Baba has repeatedly drilled that into us, right? So he has said it's
Exactly.
unfathomable. Don't try to understand, but experience. But the way Bhau presents this in this chapter is very beautiful.
If I may say a line from a poem, if you permit, ask not to question why, ask but to do and die.
What I'm
Aha.
thinking is,
I mean, although it's not in this literature, it's from uh, another poem, but I think that sort of fits. See, I'm trying to just simplify it for myself. So in that, I'm just discussing. It might be way below what is being said here, but that's my way of, you know, internalizing, or how do I behave, or what do I do after these sessions. So I try to take some takeaways from this. Jeva.
Yeah, sure. Raviji?
yeah. So, if we all the spiritual knowledge is acquired knowledge. The intellect, what we use, is the knowledge that we acquired, worldly knowledge, and we can exercise a little bit of the spiritual knowledge we acquired and go a little bit further from there. Apart from that, we cannot create new knowledge. See, intellect doesn't cannot create a new knowledge. It's the information we get it from spiritual book, Baba books, for example. That information we take and we jumble the words and we try to grasp it. But even that grasping also, Baba has to help us. That's why Baba says we cannot, I mean, we have to use our intellect, but we have to still take the rescue of God and try to get the understanding using the intellects. Usually, we use our intellect for our own worldly information, not the spiritual information. That's what I'm. That's why they give less importance to the intellect, more for the love. That's
But
what I'm
it's
thinking.
a journey. It's a journey, and
Hmm.
I'm always reminded that where does that journey start? That journey starts with the question, right, about the true values. And where does that question emanate from? That also emanates from intellect, right? So what
Uh,
is, if you go to the Vedantic concept, what is jigyasa?
uh,
Jigyasa is the starting point, right? So you are
mm,
just
mm,
another animal, then you became a human, and then you're just getting on with life. And then there is this jigyasa that takes root,
mm,
right? Where does that
mm.
take root? That takes root in the individual mind, in the faculty of intellect, because it is a pursuit of understanding true values and associations of things around you, right?
Yeah,
So, in that
yeah. That
sense, there is a role for intellect, but
mm.
as Baba says, it's very limited because it cannot
It's a
fathom God.
subservient of love. It's a
Yes,
subservient
it's
of love.
yes, beautiful, subservient of love.
And
Yes,
you have to stop your intellect at one point.
correct.
Then you have to start using only love because God is love. and that's the only way we can reach him.
Perfect. So that goes back
Knowledge
to
will take us only to certain point. That's it.
the pole of knowledge. The pole of knowledge you'll have to discard and embrace with love. Then you make the pole vault leap, right? So
Yeah.
use that
See,
pole.
yeah. See, there is the creation world. That's where we are, and we have mind and intellect. That's all we have. We don't have anything else. This is the medium we have to go from this world to the through a bridge to the world of reality. And what is that bridge is the love we use. That's the only thing we use. But to reach that point of using love and crossing the bridge, we have to use the spiritual knowledge. Don't lie, be honest, all these things. And then we leave it. Once we are embedded with the knowledge, we change from total ignorance to knowledge person. Then only we get the qualification to cross the bridge through love, through the help of
Yes.
avatar.
The key thing
Yeah.
is finally you have to abandon this intellect or
All
you
the
have to limit.
knowledge.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Right? So very beautiful discussion.
Yes.
Let's
So this argument that uh, the intellect is subservient to love. So basically, we discard all the tools, or let's say the scaffolding, and reach real love. Real love means the divine love. And once we reach that stage, then that's a precondition for the flow of unlimited love. I think the last line is again a very uh, worth. Can I just repeat the last line? In
please.
man seeking of God, the intellect turns out to be an enemy of man, for it obstructs the experience and flow of unlimited love. So we have to get rid of anything which is like a dust on the window, which obstructs our experience of flow of unlimited love. So I think we have to have a precondition where we are ready to get the love is there, but we are bound by our sanskaras. So we have to just get rid of, or let's say, the annihilation of the mind, the sensation of sanskaras, as a precondition to have the experience of the flow of unlimited love. Is what I even the last line is worth underlining.
Sure. Yeah. For the chapter, this is a very key line.
Yeah. I would like to add one more point. You know, throughout our life, we have been using only intellect for everything, you know, and we think, we assume that even in the spirituality, we have to use intellect.
Yes.
That's where many people, I mean, including us, you know, we have that problem. That is the problem we have
Yes.
to cross.
So I think those with that's very well said, and we have to be cognizant of that problem, and I think we are. It's something that we have to. It's an appendage that we have to give up on. The sooner we give it up, the closer we get to embracing through divine love. Let's continue. Intellect must be submissive to seek the reality of God, to experience His love, which is unlimited. When the intellect becomes submissive, the flames of the avatar's yoga yoga sanskaras, born of love, burn it up to clear the way for a pure conscious experience of God. But when it is not submissive, it remains a burden upon one's consciousness like a huge boulder, and the pathway to experiencing God is closed. The avatar must work to break down the rock of the intellect and pulverize it to dust. The path of dust is known as the spiritual path because the very mind of man is gradually broken down before the infinite. The intellect is the first faculty of the mind to be crushed and pulverized to dust. There are perversions in human
One
consciousness.
second, Karthik.
Sure.
Baba insisted on Mandali about being obedient, right? He grilled them, every single Mandali circle member, to be obedience. He tested them and he humiliated them so that this obedience is engraved in them. And obedience is nothing but superior part of love. Surrender is the most superior, yes, highest part of love. Everything is love, obedience and the surrender. Um, so that is how Baba trains
Put this
us
into practice. Yeah.
with the practice. Yeah. So,
So actually, thanks for sharing that. I'd like to extend that idea a little bit. So if you look at obedience and surrender in the context of these individual minds and the universal mind, by
mm,
embracing obedience and surrender in its truest form, as Baba desires, you are basically submitting to the universal mind that is in control of everything and ignoring your individual mind. A,
mm,
it helps reduce the suffering of the avatar. B, it opens the channels for divine love to grace you. And three,
mm,
you obviously are giving lesser and lesser importance to lag because you're just going with total surrender to Baba, right? So, in the context of what we read in the previous chapter about the universal mind and seeing it alongside this idea of surrender and obedience, I think is a good way of making it easier for us to accept it.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I continue. There are perversions in human consciousness. Some are caused by unnatural actions, some are caused by spiritual perversions, and some are caused by the intellect. When one's pathway is closed to experience God's love solely because of the intellect, it is a perverted intellect. I repeat, when one's pathway is closed to experience God's love solely because of the intellect, it is a perverted intellect. There is no place for
Mm,
such a perverted intellect for one who is seeking God. There is no place in the heart for such intellect. The perverted intellect is not submissive. It prevents the mind's consciousness from surrendering to the experience of God's love and the avatar's wish and will. Only when the intellect is submissive does the seeker find love and attain the experience of God. Spiritual
mm,
masters gradually break down the intellects of their disciples. Questions are the nature of the intellect, but the perverted intellect questions when there is no need to question. The intellect can become useful in a master's work, but it must first lose its perversion of questioning unnecessarily. And only after this can it become submissive to the master's will and gradually lose its existence. So there's a little uh, pocket of clarity here. So you need those questions, or those questions will be there. It's the nature of the intellect. But when you when he's bringing the idea of a perverted intellect which is asking for the sake of asking and is operating more at the mind of the ego than in the mind in the true nature. See, when you're asking a question, your motivations can be different. Your motivations can be to truly understand and clarify something. That's the best. That's still safe. But if you're asking from the pulpit of ego, from the pulpit of minimizing the person who is going to answer the question, or something to show your superiority or bring down the superiority of the other, then those are all perverted intellect examples. That's
yeah.
what I'm
Yeah.
seeing here.
See, this is very profound. Yeah. See,
Yeah.
we ask questions, right? We all ask questions, right?
Correct, correct.
And the bottom line of asking question is, I want to know, right? I want to know. Then what are we going to
Mhm.
do with that information? We don't know that. Many times
Yeah, yeah,
we,
yeah.
do- we, for the sake of asking, we ask, or to show our ego, hey, I know something, you know. But if we
Yes,
don't know, nothing happens. Nothing happens. What do we need to know? Baba is God. We love God. As simple as that. We don't need to know anything actually. If we really need something, Baba will help. See, Guru
correct.
appears when you really need, when you have a question regarding love for Baba, love for God. He will help you, certainly help you in a different way. I want to know is the ego problem.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Uh,
Mhm.
Yeah.
this brings into focus the Vedantic or the Indian Gurukula way of learning into spirituality, where the cornerstone is accept the Guru, do all the things the Guru says. That is the first part, obedience. That is what Avatar Meher Baba has also told. And,
Oh, yeah.
and this ultimately leads to surrender. Uh,
Mm.
and this also brings that Hafiz three
Yes,
uh,
three lines.
Yeah,
yeah,
Yes.
statements. Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
statements. The
Yeah.
first is the last, and the first there is a graduation from one to the second to the third. All these things are built up here.
Yes.
There's one sloka in
You
Bhagavad
missed it.
Gita
It went off. Okay. Uh,
is very specific about if you have any questions, seek a perfect master with all humility.
yes.
Nothing wrong in asking a question, but with what attitude we are asking. There's the
Yes,
thing.
that's very, very
Initially,
important.
we have questions. Yeah. And it has to have a lot of humility and really want to know. Really want to know. Yeah.
That's
And
Yeah, this
befitting a
is it.
fortunate slave. Carry out every command of the master without any question of why and
Question.
what. That is the basic foundation for us. Next step is
Hmm.
about what you hear from the master. Never say it is wrong because that becomes judgmental. We don't know. Because, my dear, the fault lies in your own incapacity to understand him. The
Hmm.
third level is I am a slave. So the disciple has come to a stage where he accepts all these things and he has grown some way ahead in the path. Then the third one is the I am the slave of the master who has released me from ignorance. Whatever my master does is of the highest benefit to all concerned, including him. He goes to the level of the all concerned also. So this though I see these three lines graduating from one to the other. Jai Baba.
so you have to read it in Kama style. You
Uh,
want to do that?
yes, I can't read it like that.
You have to read it as befitting a fortunate slave, Karthik, carry out every command of the master without any question of why and what. About what you hear from the. I missed that. Actually, I have to start again. Befitting a fortunate slave, Karthik, carry out every command of Meher Baba without any question of why and what. About what you, Karthik, hears from Meher Baba, never say it is wrong because, my dear, the fault lies in Karthik's own incapacity to understand Meher Baba. I, Karthik, am slave of the master Meher Baba, who has released me, Karthik, from ignorance. Whatever Meher Baba does is of the highest benefit to all concerned. It,
I like it.
so I like, yeah, I like it too. So every time I read it, I like to read it like this. Karma and this unique uh, twist. Okay, let's get back. There's an analogy, so let's go and read that. There was a well educated intellectual seeker of God who was wandering from ashram to ashram and meeting gurus, saints, and yogis who were supposed to be spiritually advanced. Everywhere he visited, he would find meditation, yogic exercises, prayers, and singing. He would ask the persons in charge, why is meditation necessary? Why is yoga necessary? Why is prayer necessary? Why are songs necessary? The seeker spent every visit in this manner, and at every ashram, he found no satisfaction. One day, he met an old man on his way, and they had a friendly talk. The seeker explained to the old man that he was in search of God, but so far nobody had been able to help him. The old man advised the seeker to go to a certain man who was living at a nearby town and that he would be able to help him in his search. The seeker went to that town and he found the man. This man was a perfect master. He had only a few disciples, some of whom were engaged in physical work. Some were cooking and baking, some were cleaning the utensils, some were gardening, and a few were seated near the master. The master asked the seeker, why have you come to see me? What do you want? The seeker replied, I am weary of seeking God. I want God realization. The master was pleased and said, stay with me, but you'll have to obey my instructions if you want God. After a few days, I will give you instructions. Are you prepared to obey them if I promise to help you? The seeker immediately replied, yes, master, I will obey. The seeker remained in the master's compound, but soon his mind started working. He found no one meditating, no one doing yogic exercises, no one praying, and no one singing. And doubts about the master began to arise in his mind. Previously, he always had asked questions about meditation, yoga, prayer, and devotion. And now, when he did not find anything like that happening, he suffered doubts as to whether the master was real and if he could really help him. The seeker became so distraught with his questions and his doubts that he decided to leave the place after a few days of resting. The next day, the master asked the seeker to massage his feet, and while pressing, the seeker was thinking what kind of strange spiritual atmosphere he was in, and he said to the master, I will be going away from here tomorrow. My mind is very disturbed here. The master said, what are you saying? You have given me a promise to obey my instructions and stay with me. And now you're intending to leave? It is not befitting an intelligent, educated person like yourself. You give a promise one day and then you break it the next. Had you been really intelligent, you would not have agreed to stay here and obey my instructions. The master laughed, but you agreed. So you should stay here with me for at least a few more days. The seeker replied submissively, yes, you are right. I will stay on longer. Even though he agreed to stay on, he continued to feel uneasy and uncomfortable since he did not find the spiritual atmosphere to his liking. The next day, the master called him and said, I am giving you my first instruction. Take the stone, go to the market and bring back 2 kilos of all sorts of vegetables in exchange for the stone. The seeker, looking at the stone, was taken aback. He said to the master, this stone looks worthless. Who would give 2 kilos of vegetables in exchange for it? The master scolded, obey my instructions and go immediately to the market and do not bring back less than 2 kilos of the finest vegetables. The seeker left hesitatingly, thinking all the way that he should leave the place since the master seemed to have no understanding of the value of stones. But despite his confusion, he went into the market and he offered the stone to vendor after vendor in exchange for 2 kilos of their finest vegetables. No one accepted. There was one vendor who offered 1 kilo of vegetables, but the seeker refused to exchange the stone and returned to the master empty handed. As the seeker approached the master, he said, I told you that nobody would exchange 2 kilos of vegetables for the stone, and it was true. Only one vendor offered me 1 kilo, and I wonder why he even offered that much. The stone is worthless. It is impossible to obtain 2 kilos of vegetables for it. Upon hearing the seeker's complaints, the master smiled and said, now this is my second instructions. Go back to town and go to any candy shop and bring back 5 kilos of the finest chocolates in exchange for the stone. The seeker burst out. But, sir, how is it possible? The master smiled. Don't argue with me. Just go back to town and do as I have told you. The seeker left feeling more disturbed and thinking all kinds of abusive thoughts against the master. But despite his confusion, he again went back to town. He went to the finest candy shop and showed the stone to the shopkeeper and said, kind sir, please give me 5 kilos of your finest sweet chocolate in exchange for this handsome stone. The shopkeeper looked at the stone and laughed. Who would give you 5 kilos of chocolate for the stone? It's not worth that much. But it is a handsome stone, and my daughter will like it. So I will give you 3 kilos of sweets for it. The seeker returned to the master and said, I can get 3 kilos of sweets in exchange for the stone. I think it is a very good deal. It is not the exchange you wanted, but the shopkeeper agreed to this amount and he thinks his daughter will like the stone. The master laughed at what the seeker told him and instructed him. Now go back to town tomorrow morning, go to any goldsmith and bring back 20,000 rupees in exchange for the stone. Hearing this, the seeker was startled and replied, how is this possible? If I ask for 20,000 rupees from a goldsmith for this stone, he will surely think that I am mad. The master smiled. Obey, just obey me without any more argument. That night, the seeker tried to sleep, but he kept thinking that this was no spiritual place and that the master was mad. But because he was going to leave and never return after a few days more, he decided to go to town in the morning. The morning, he went to the best goldsmith he could find and offered the stone. After carefully examining the stone, the goldsmith asked him, how much do you want for the stone? The seeker replied, I want 20,000 rupees, nothing less. The goldsmith replied, I will give you 10,000 rupees, but not more. The seeker was taken aback and returned to the master. He was in a state of shock, for his intellect had been thinking the whole time that the stone was worthless. Then the master asked, did you bring me the 20,000 rupees? The seeker hesitatingly said, no, master. The goldsmith was only prepared to pay 10,000 rupees for the stone. The master smiled. All right, now go to any jeweler and bring back 100,000 rupees in exchange for the stone. The seeker did not argue this time, for he was starting to be somewhat convinced about the master and the value of the stone. He went to the finest jeweler and showed him the stone. The jeweler examined the stone and asked, how much do you want for it? The seeker said, 100,000 rupees. The jeweler did not reply, but went to his safe and pulled out 100,000 rupees and handed the money over to him for the stone. The stone was a rare jewel, and the jeweler recognized its value, so he paid the price without question. The seeker returned to the master with the money in a very repentful mood, and as he handed over the money to the master, he said, I am very sorry, master. I thought you were a madman, but now I realize that I am mad. Kindly allow me to stay with you and serve you. The master smiled. You are not mad. You are not a jeweler, so how could you recognize the stone's value? It was your intellect that made you think this way. I know that you are a jeweler. If you go to others, your value will not be recognized because they cannot recognize a jewel. Stay with me and obey me wholeheartedly, and one day you will find the jewel that you yourself are. Very, very interesting
Wow.
story. Yeah.
Interesting stuff. Yeah.
Let me finish and then we'll discuss maybe. For many years, the seeker served the master with all his heart, and eventually the master gave him the priceless jewel of God realization. Avatar Meher Baba has released the divine free sanskaras of his universal work for each of us. And if our intellects remain submissive, our hearts will receive the benefit of these yoga sanskaras from him. We will become free from our bindings in proportion to our submission to his wish and surrenderance to his will. However, if we cling to the weight and the hardness of the rock of our intellects will become perverted and we will gain nothing during the avataric advent. If we expect to experience God through our intellect or go to the so called gurus, saints, and yogis, thinking that they are spiritually advanced and can help us, our value will have only a worldly price and our true value will never be realized. The jewel of the soul is in everyone, and each one of us must recognize the value of that jewel before we can experience the value of the avatar's work for each of us. Each of us has the opportunity given by the avatar to turn towards him. The time of the avatar's manifestation is the most important period because in this period, we can receive the benefit of his yoga sanskaras and become free from the binding of our own sanskaras. It is the most important period because through his divine free sanskaras, one is able to recognize the true value of the soul and turn toward him for realization. A genuine seeker of God must not allow his intellect to stay as hard as rock. No one should question the wish and the will of the avatar. We must keep the intellect submissive to experience God's existence in the time of the avatar's manifestation. For God's love will be the universal outcome of the avatar's manifestation, and the love that will be manifesting through Meher Baba will not bear the weight of our intellects. Very beautiful story
Very
and
beautiful
very
story.
beautiful
Yeah.
and very beautiful
Explanation. Mm.
way to understand the rock of intellect and how it pulls our progress down or our comes in the way of our progress. So very very
Absolutely.
beautiful reading this morning.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And this last part was, it has a message, if I may say. And we read the book with Francis Provozon, Stay with God. So I think whatever happens, we just have to have complete faith and stay with Him. Uh, we try to judge a value, but the value of staying with God is invaluable. Is what I get
Absolutely.
from this passage of this example.
I
Indeed.
think we had known about this story, or I had known
A
about this.
similar a similar story, but
Uh,
I don't think
Yeah.
or maybe we have encountered elsewhere. Maybe you're right,
mm,
Madhavi.
yeah.
And Karthik, you read the recent three messages. So, I mean, we had also discussed that while I was having my hospitalization, that suffering is a benediction. So we don't realize why God is putting us through, you know, physical or other sufferings. So that's also a way of His uh, His benediction on reducing our samskaric load. That
Very
just
much, very much.
Yeah.
that just
And in
struck
this
me.
story also, the imagery used the stone and then jewel. So sizzling gradually happening because of
Mm.
the avatar's effect of making you learn over a period. That makes it a jewel at the end. So any stone is a jewel inside. The soul of it is the jewel, but only
Correct.
the sizzling, taking away the sanskara will make you glow. So that's also one way I saw it, this story.
Yeah, very correct. Okay, so on that note, we will wrap up this session and look forward to seeing you all next weekend. Oh, that's a good point.
Mm.
Next weekend, we will not have a reading because
Yes,
we will be in Mehrabad. So we will not have a reading both on Saturday and Sunday, though it is after Silence Day. Silence Day is on Friday. But given that we will be up and about and running around in Mehrabad, we will not be doing our sessions next week. With that, I'll stop recording, but we can hang around for a minute or two. Avatar Meher Baba Ki Jai.
Baba ki jai. Jama is already there.